Hi, I'm Kevin Hill, and today we're going to do a beautiful little painting, maybe with a little creek kind of running through the painting and some larger trees. It should be a lot of fun. And if you're enjoying this and you'd like to see more, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more painting videos. All right, let's get started. We'll start off today with a nice light blue. There we go, just a little bit of our Prussian blue deep and white. And of course, I've went ahead and toned our canvas with, what was that, like a little bit of our, I don't know, umber and black. And maybe a little white. That's pretty much all it was. Maybe a little red and yellow ochre. See, I looked down here to remind myself because I let this dry for a good 10 minutes, so I kind of forgot what I put in it. Oops. All right, so now that it's bone dry, I'm going to come along and just drop in a nice soft little simple sky. Now you'll notice that I have a little cup here of, hopefully you can, there we go, that's probably better, of our foundation medium. And I mixed that in with the brown, I mixed that in with the blue. I pretty much mixed that in with everything because it helps the paint to flow along really nicely. I just like the way that it works. You can use water, but it's a little more inconsistent. This is a little more consistent, and I find that it's easier for me. So give it a try if you haven't already. All right, let's put a little more blue. While it's still wet, let's put a little bit of our Prussian blue deep right up here at the top and work it in. There. This nice, large, flat blender brush gets the job done pretty quick. And it's a very, very soft brush. So you can get these like airbrushed effects, like oil painting effects with your acrylics. That looks good. Now we're gonna go ahead and use our little number 6, I was gonna say number 4, number 6 flat brush. This is the synthetic one. It's very soft and it's pretty long. There. I'm gonna use that to drop in a nice extra mountain here. You may be wondering why I'm done with the sky and then, but I'm not, because I'm going to paint clouds. You've probably seen the thumbnail and you know I'm going to paint clouds. Well, see, here's the thing. I need that to be bone dry. Well, you don't need it to be, but for the technique that I'm going to use, you need it to be, right? So, because I don't want the paint lifting off. So I'm going to do other things while I wait. I'm not going to waste my time. The other thing you could do is just hit it with a hairdryer, which I don't happen to have with me right now. So this is what it's going to be. It's all right. It's probably more convenient for you. Just jump around the painting a little. It's not gonna be a big deal. There we go. See that? Honestly, most of this is not gonna show up anyways through the background. It's just there. So we got some different little effects. Some blue ones, some green ones. And then what I might do, when you're done with these, by the way, just dip them in your water so that they're super wet. And then you can just leave them on your table for, 20, 30 minutes or whatever you need to do. Just don't leave them there and go get lunch or something. I'm just gonna take my larger brush, which just came with a lot of water in it because of doing that. And I'm just gonna touch this. And actually, if I break through this paint and show some of that brown, great, who cares? That's why we tone our canvases, so a little bit of it shows through every once in a while. As you can see, I went ahead and just dropped in a nice soft pink color and then I drifted it this way. I also did a little sketch and I waited till that dried. So now I've got a nice yellow color. You can see I just threw a little bit of our yellow and white here. And whatever mud sneaks in, so probably okay. As long as it's not blue, right? And I'm going to try to enhance this glow. Now when we do acrylic painting, you can either do this all in one or you can do this let it dry technique thing, wet over dry, which is what I'm choosing to do now, just because I can. And of course with oils, you really don't get that so much unless you're willing to invest 6 months into a painting, which we are not. There we go. So now you see, we just put a little on, maybe take some of it off the brush. And I like this brush because it's soft. It's got a nice long bristle to it. You don't want to do this too much. You might end up kind of wearing your brush out, but I'm just going lightly. I'm not going crazy. I'm not grinding like, sometimes. I'm going very softly and delicate, just kind of using the tip of the brush. It gives me a very, very nice feathered edge. See that? And now, because we have that barrier, even though it's dry, you will still get green because you'll see through the yellow, you'll see through to the blue, and it'll make green. So you only want to do this over the pink. It's just like if it was wet. Of course, it's not so catastrophic. There's the big difference. Yeah, there we go. I like that. See how we're just kind of creating a little bit of a glow. And honestly, this is going to be hidden for the most part. I just want this because I'm going to do sun rays, probably, most likely. And I want those to be yellow and I want them to look really pretty. So we got to have this in the background. Maybe let's go with just a little more white, and I'll sneak a little white in here. See that? Wipe my brush. And just sort of blend that white in. There, I'm just finishing up, dry brush blending in just a few soft clouds. Honestly, nothing that's crazy. You can kind of barely see them, and that's great. So you see we've got some beautiful true blues up here, and then we got some yellows, and then everything kind of in between with the purples and the reds. Really, it makes for an interesting sky, and I like that. I think it'll work with this landscape. So let's get going on that. Let's take some of our beautiful yellow, ochre, red, and let's take some of our umber too. Oh yeah, that looks good. This is going to be an underpainting. So let's go ahead and just throw in a little bit of our foundation medium. I certainly do that when I underpaint. It helps the paint so much. And what we're going to do is we are going to take full advantage of this little chisel edge brush, because this way we can get some of our little, grass action kind of built in. You could come in here and just, underpaint it as you would normally, but I'm gonna, for the most part, at least on the top here, I need some more of that medium to make this flow better. For the most part, I think I'm gonna stick with this kind of grass stroke. A little green is okay. I squirted out a lot of green because I wasn't really planning to do a lot of our, I was gonna do more blue, less blue ended up happening. That's because I kind of started liking this a little more and more, and I was thinking about our sun rays, and I really wanted sun rays, and I didn't want to do just a little bit. I want to do a lot of sun rays, so we'll see. But anyway, that's why I put out so much green, because I figured I'd have a lot of greens. Probably won't have quite as many as I was originally planning. When you acrylic paint, it's probably best to just squirt out these little itty bitty blobs, because let's face it, it's not hard to squirt out more paint, and it'll save you some money. There. And if it dries up on the palette, it doesn't make any difference that way. Now I've got a really thin wash here, just some gray. And I still got my number 6 flat. But you can see I just spent a couple extra seconds here after the grass. Just did a couple of rocks, and they're not even close to dry yet. But anyway, let's take this gray, and like I said, it's a wash. So I put a little bit of my foundation in, but I also put some water in as well, because the water is thinner. There, and I'm gonna drag this across. And look, you see our scratchy and rough, that's not even an underpainting, that's just a toned canvas. I'm gonna experiment with letting just a little bit of that show through. May or may not keep it, just throwing that out there. May or may not keep it. But I just want to give it a try. I just thought it would look kind of different, wet. Maybe it has a wet look to it. I'm gonna take a little bit of our just random colors that are kind of in the painting, and I'm gonna just scatter them around. A little green, a little brown, a little blue, yellow, all that good stuff. And hopefully just get a very detailed water effect. The reason I'm not just going like I normally do is because this is very, very close. And I think we need just a little more detail. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to try something a little different. The idea is still the same. Here's a nice purple. I actually think that a purpley gray would be good for most of this area. So let's get that going. It's a little bit less of a wash now. So let's add a little more of our water to it. Very good. You can go right over those rocks. It didn't really hurt them, does it? Yeah, this is cool. Then we can go darker on the edges. There we go. So see how you kind of just play with your water underpainting this way? We'll highlight it in a bit. There, but make sure, here's the only other thing that's kind of important, is as we go back, just make sure that it does indeed get a little bit lighter. See that? Because we're going toward the sun area. Very important. Oops, well, that's a little much, but you get the idea. Yeah, that looks good. There, I'm just finishing up adding just a touch of blue, because of course there's a lot of blue in the sky. So I've got purple, blue, yellow, and well, after all that, not much of the original tone canvas showed through. Honestly, not a big deal. All right, we're gonna be adding a lot of highlights on top of that, but I'm happy with the colors. See how the colors match? You can never overdo this. Your colors, if they match, you're just gonna be happy. Doesn't matter what happens with the actual landscape, it's gonna look pretty. All right, let's go ahead and just get some brown and black. This is our beautiful umber and ivory black, and let's see right here, I kind of barely still see my sketches. And I know I want this one fairly large. Let me grab some of my medium. There we go. I want this one for so much medium it went transparent. There we go. Anyway, I gotta finish my sentence. I want this one fairly large because this is a pretty close painting. We've got like this big mound of grass and rocks here, so that's definitely kind of higher in elevation. We're definitely a little lower here, but that's about it. So this is pretty close, and then of course those mountains indicate a lot of distance, but they're not so important to the painting. They're kind of just there, aren't they? There we go. Isn't that nice? Come along this side. It doesn't have to be filled in perfectly. It just doesn't make a whole lot of difference. Kind of make that as big or as tiny as you really are feeling like it should be. I mean, you know, I'm kind of thinking right in that area. Let me step back. Looks pretty decent. If you guys aren't in the habit of stepping back, get in the habit of stepping back, because boy, does it make a difference. There. Makes all the difference. You can't see what you're doing close up. It's just the way it is. Nice. We're going to put a lot of leaves and stuff on these, so I'm really, as you can see, not too concerned about them. So now we're going to go ahead and let's drop on some highlight toward these rocks up here. Using just a variation of different little tan colors. Each time I reload, I'm going to be very careful to pick up a new color. Last thing we want is a bunch of rocks with one flat color all over the place. That would be kind of sad. Yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and just pick out a few rocks. Actually, a lot of rocks up in here. There's a lot less grass than it looks like there's going to be. I go, you know, I don't even care about my trees. They were just 2 seconds, so they're not worth the time of trying to paint around them. We'll paint them back in. How's that? Cool. There, nice geometric shapes. You don't want anything too smooth. I just like this kind of rough, rugged little rock pattern thing. See that? Very cool. All right, now enough of that color. I was talking about reloading, and I go on with one dead color. That's all right. I'll put in all the variations right now. There's some beautiful yellow ochre light right out of the tube. That's a pretty color if you haven't given that color a try. That's a pretty color. There, it looks like sunlight right out of a paint tube. There. Maybe some of our cad yellow. Oh yeah, very nice. I'm just gonna sprinkle all these colors around. There's some umber, and just kind of enjoy a few minutes of doing this. Now I'm continuing with my little soft fan brush because it's working so good. I'm gonna drop in just a few little pine needles and stuff to these trees. I kind of want this fairly thick. This is another reason to use this brush, but also just, I mean, with acrylic, you know, you need something soft to kind of splay apart like that. This is also a very thin brush, but it's very soft, and it kind of splits, you know, creates some good texture. But you know my thing, we don't just go with one texture, one stroke. Never. What we want to do is, where's my little micro filbert? This is the tiniest little filbert with the longest handle. What I like to do is I'll just take this and I'll add in, you know, an extra touch of detail, an extra stroke, just anything to break it up. See that? Just so that you cannot tell so much how it was painted. Now let's go ahead and use our micro filbert. This is probably the best tool for the job to drop in some of our final lights on the water. There, see that? You want to make sure it's soft though. You don't want it to be just like harsh. See, I'm so used to oil painting that I can put my hand right here. This is nice. I was being kind of, you know, careful. Yeah, I'm just going to put my hand right on the canvas. It's an obvious advantage. Why not use it, right? Cool. There, so kind of just splash that water around. I like to make sure it's nice and soft here at the bottom. Of course, even though you can rest your fingers on the canvas, I would certainly be careful not to tighten up. You know, you could easily get this too tight. So when you're not doing stuff that's, you know, this is a little bit more precision. When you're not doing stuff that's quite this precision, maybe get back on the brush a little and, you know, get yourself some more free strokes like this. Yeah, that looks good. A little bit of your, just a little touch your foundation medium will help this to flow. Very important. There, and I always like to make sure that our strokes are feathered here. Is the last thing that we want, of course, is a harsh acrylic painting. Boy, isn't that easy. With oils, it's mud. With acrylics, it's harshness. Isn't it funny? It just seems like there's You never get it perfect, right? That's okay. Now we're gonna go ahead and just sprinkle on some highlight. I'm gonna work on the back trees first, and then I'll go to this tree, and I'll probably end up having to put the dark leaves back over. Simple painting, you know. These trees I may not really worry too much about, but honestly, we're gonna do this in the same way that we did the other one, except I might just get in here with my finger and do some smudging there. That looks good. Now you'll notice one thing right off the bat. Oh, there's my little brush here. It's over here. You'll notice one thing, that we get just one color, right? Because if you imagine this was oils, you'd already have a ton of different colors, but this is acrylic and that's not the way it goes. So what we're gonna do is, as we go, we're going to build in a little different colors. So there's, see, while it's still wet, I get in here with a little just dark. I just grabbed a little mud on the canvas, or the palette, I mean. There. See, I'm gonna grab some of our yellow ochre light again, maybe, and just see how you can do this. You just need to add those variations that would otherwise happen automatically if this was wet. Now I'm gonna just touch on with my little flat brush. This is the number 4 flat bristle brush, so very stiff. I'm just gonna touch on some highlight to a couple of little wildflowers that are growing here. Actually, we're gonna do quite a bit of these, and not just in the purple tones. We're going to have them also in the yellow tones and all sorts of different things. I just think that would look really nice. See that? You don't have to be super accurate when you do this either. You'd be surprised what a couple of dabs will look like on the canvas. It really can look really convincing, you know? So the goal here is just to make this look like there's lots of stuff growing. I like that. I think that's pretty cool. Obviously, the thought would be, oh, let's make sure that we get a bunch of these in here that are all bright, but you also want some darker ones too. So I'm gonna make sure that we do that as well. Some darker reds and stuff that are just subtle. You don't really hardly see them. Now with our custom tapered round brush, you can't really see it, but I've got some yellow and white loaded up into there. They're so little and it's pretty watered down. So, all right, we're gonna start way off here. Like our center of the sun area is gonna be over here, and then we can kind of radiate from there. So my first one, right here. Now, as I say almost every time I paint these, let's look at all that paint that was in the brush. As I say generally, you want to be absolutely sure, and then be sure again, that your background is dry. Because if your background's not dry, you're going to be not happy. In fact, here's a good thing. I don't like the way that turned out. It's just a little too, I don't know, crazy there. So I'm just gonna wipe it off with a wet paper towel. See that? Cool. And it doesn't really harm the painting because it's dry. Now, if you sit there and you scrub it really hard, and if it's not really, really good and cured, then you're probably gonna wipe through the paint. But so it's just something you gotta watch out for. So this time I took some more paint off the brush. I'm gonna try it again. You see the difference. This is really good for you guys to see. Remember our circles out here, so. Oh yeah, I love this. This brush is gonna make the best little sun rays. It's an amazing little blender. That's really what it is. It's kind of a painting and a blender all at once brush. Maybe right here. Right through the trees. Now we're gonna go ahead and continue to add in wildflower bushes. This one, of course, being larger, as you can plainly see. Oh boy. I don't know why I say the things I do sometimes. But this way, it will help you kind of, get linked up here from the foreground to the background. Does that make sense? I mean, it's not a big painting, but we're trying to force a little depth in it, There we go. So anyway, this is all wet right now. I just laid down that dark really fast. And that's important to note because I'm liking the way that this is mixing. This is what I wanted to happen. A little bit like an oil painting, not quite as controlled as an oil painting. Cool, that looks actually really good. Really pretty. I like the little nuances in there that you get when it's wet. All right, let me change now. And I'm gonna pick up just really a little bit of white and red, would be okay, on my my little micro filbert, and I'm going to just, oops, that's a little bright. Just bring out a few petals. So, you know, you're not gonna go perfect on this, but at least it looks like a bush that's a little closer. I like that a lot. Just catching, remember the light is coming across like this, so kind of highlighting just the top. I don't want to go crazy and highlight the left side, but I kind of do, you know. I don't want to because it wouldn't be correct. I do want to because it would look really good. And the way I'm going to get away with it is because of the sun rays. Kind of shows you where the light's hitting. So yeah, some light's spilling over onto my little flower bush. There, see that? So I'm going to be kind of careful with it. Now, one of the last things that we're going to do up here is kind of highlight the trees and any little unfinished area that we see. This will really help to tie the whole painting together, make it feel more complete. Of course, you don't want to go crazy with the highlight. You really do want to just kind of keep it more minimal. There, kind of do more of a spot highlight perhaps. See that? That works out pretty good. Oh yeah. Just touch it there. See that? Just let that kind of fade into the painting. All right, well, I think we're done. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. Don't forget to check out our website, DVDs, and brush line. Thanks for watching.